So many Americans can finally breathe a sigh of relief now that the government shutdown is about to end. What happened and why did it take 40 days? Well, Democrats had demanded an extension of expiring subsidies under the Affordable Care Act. They were concerned about health care premiums rising and they demanded action immediately. But Republicans said they would not negotiate on that issue, and increasingly Donald Trump said he would not go along with any extension under the Affordable Care Act. But ultimately, a bipartisan group of senators agreed to a compromise. They said there would be a separate vote on the Affordable Care Act, not tied to government funding. Still, the White House did agree to some concessions, including to prevent mass federal firings. And as so many Americans were at risk of seeing their federal food aid dry up, this bill would fully fund that program through next year. As part of the deal, the government would reopen through January 30th. If Democrats don't get what they want over the next couple of months, will they fight again? Ultimately, 8 Democrats voted with Republicans to advance this plan to reopen the government, but they are divided about whether it was worth it. The Senate will still have to give it final passage, and then the House, which has been out of session since September 19th, will have to come back to town to pass this bill. And then President Trump will have to sign it into law. So the government will remain shut down for at least a few more days.
Well, there you have it. Democrats just caved and bent the knee to Donald Trump and the Republicans. The government has been shut down for 40 days, and one of the main things that Democrats were asking for is an extension of the ACA subsidies so people have affordable health care that they can access. And the Republicans left it out of the bill, and we agreed. We agreed to that. People's premiums were doubling, tripling. And now the agreement is that we hope Republicans vote on it in December, which doesn't even guarantee a vote in the House. It is pathetic. And let me be clear, not every Democrat voted with the Republicans, so I'm going to read the names of the Democratic senators who did. You have Hassan from New Hampshire, Shaheen from New Hampshire, Fetterman, of course, from Pennsylvania, King from Maine, Kane from Virginia, Cortez Masto from Nevada, Rosen from Nevada, and Durbin from Illinois. Republicans are the reason for the shutdown. They're the reason that healthcare prices are going to skyrocket for over 20 million Americans, but Democrats just allowed them to do it. We allowed them. We bent the knee, we caved. It is pathetic.
It is official. The Senate now has officially passed the now continuing resolution, which will be ending the government shutdown. What happens next? Because technically speaking, it does not happen kind of overnight. What needs to happen now is that now that the Senate has passed it, they need to kick it back down to the House, in which then they'll bring it to the floor and will more than likely pass it. Actually, about 99% they're going to pass it, in which it will then get to the president's desk, who will then sign it, and then the government shutdown will be over. That doesn't mean, though, right away everything's going to go back to normal. It's going to take a while for the airlines to get back to normal. The whole SNAP thing still needs to be worked out. But tonight, it is done in the Senate. Something to keep in mind, Mike Johnson has already said that he cannot promise or guarantee that there's going to be any kind of vote on continuing the Obama era as subsidies when it comes to health, which means that those Democrats who voted to reopen the government, it means that the past 40 days meant absolutely nothing, as though we just closed the government just to close the government. And this is positively the worst collapse I think we've ever seen in any kind of stand against trying to do something inside the Senate. But that said, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on everything, so please do share my videos and follow me for more.
The Senate has just voted to reopen the government with 8 Democratic senators turning against us. If you're wondering which ones, what that means is that there will be no funds extended for the Affordable Care Act. Therefore, millions of Americans will be losing their health care. So if you're wondering why the Democrats were refusing to vote to reopen the government, that is why. Because they would have to vote on that horrific bill taking away the Affordable Care Act's funding. And that's what those 8 Senate Democrats did. It's one problem after the next. First they take away food, and now they're taking away health care. It's almost as if you're being punished for being poor now.
The Democrats caved. The Democrats caved. What are you? I have tried to calm down so many times to record this video, but Senate Democrats, it's official. They are actually voting with Senate Republicans to reopen the government and got absolutely nothing from the longest government shutdown in history. What was the point of doing this in the first place if you weren't actually going to care about the Affordable Care Act? What does getting a vote in December mean for the millions of people who are going to experience an increase in their healthcare premiums of $100 to thousands of dollars? If you were going to cave that easily, if you were going to be that soft, if you were going to, what was the point in America going through this in the first place? What kind of stunt is this? Whenever you guys get on my page and you try to say, oh, I'm so biased, I'm so this, I'm so that, I will say what I actually feel regardless of what party they are a part of. This is not something I agree with. Try to keep it calm. This makes no sense. That's the nicest it can get.
The Democrats will have no negotiation power when that government shuts down at the end of January. The reason why the Democrats had power this shutdown was because of the combination of the travel season. You guys had Thanksgiving, you guys had Christmas. They didn't care about SNAP. They didn't care if you guys starved. Most of the pressure was coming from travel. When the government does shut down at the end of January, there is no travel season that will have the Republicans feeling the pressure to open the government back up. Nobody cares about March break. And March break at the end of January. That's 2 months away. You guys lost all negotiation power. And it should not miss you guys the fact that they made sure it was 8 Democrats who are not up for re-election. They purposely made sure they picked the ones that are already going to be stepping out of office because everybody else wanted to guarantee their salaries. If I was American, I don't know what I would be doing right now, because how I see it is both of your major parties are playing in your faces. Nobody cares about you guys. And the rest of the world is just watching it shocked. I have no solution to present. I'm scared just like you guys.
Senate Democrats caved and voted to reopen the government after the nation's largest shutdown in U.S. history. Here's my breakdown of the events. While Senate Democrats didn't get any real big concessions, they did, however, shine a spotlight on a huge vulnerability for Republicans heading into the 2026 midterms, that being healthcare. Senate Republicans did promise the Democrats that there would be a vote later on the ACA subsidies. Basically, the whole reason for this government shutdown in the first place was Democrats advocating for an extension of those pandemic-era subsidies. But even though they promised that there will be this vote, it's basically meaningless. I mean, the House is not going to pass it. And even if the House did pass it, President Trump would be very unlikely to sign it. Sadly, as a result, millions of Americans are going to lose their access to their healthcare coverage, or they're going to see their premiums skyrocket. Now, I'm going to say something that is probably going to piss off a lot of people, and before you come at me in the comments, hear me out. But is Democrats giving up the worst thing ever politically? No. And the reason I say that is because it maintains the status quo. And the status quo right now is good for Democrats. I mean, just look at last week's election results, or you look at Trump's plummeting job approval rating, and that bodes well for Democrats heading into 2026. But at the end of the day, what might bode well politically for Democrats might not be great for Americans as a whole. I mean, millions of Americans are going to suffer as a result of these ACA subsidies not getting extended. So in the short term, Democrats have managed to royally piss off their base. They didn't lock in the guarantees for the ACA. And now the enthusiasm coming off of the last election is going to take a hit. But long term, Republicans have still failed to address the number one issue for voters, that being affordability. And I have no doubt that Trump will give Democrats plenty of reason to rally before November 2026.